Okay. The June 11, 2026 meeting of the San Diego Community College District Board of Trustees is hereby called to order. Good afternoon, everyone. Buenas tardes. This meeting is being conducted in a hybrid format with board members and meeting presenters participating in person. Others are participating remotely via Zoom. We also welcome any members of our district community and the members of the public who are viewing the meeting live via YouTube. The board is open to receiving public comments. If anyone is interested in doing so, this is our procedure. To address the board, please fill out a comment card available on the side of the room or from the board recording secretary. If anyone participating remotely would like to make public comment, please email boardoffice@sdccd.edu for further direction. In December 2023, our board adopted a district-wide land acknowledgement to publicly recognize that the land we occupied is the unceded territory and ancestral homeland of the Kumeyaay people. City College student trustee Jesse Lopez will now read the district's land acknowledgement. Trustee Lopez?
Thank you, Board President. The San Diego Community College District and its 4 colleges acknowledge the land we occupy is the unceded territory and ancestral homeland of the Kumeyaay people, where they have lived for over 10,000 years. We honor and value the stewardship, knowledge, and cultural worldview of the Kumeyaay people and their commitment to the protection and preservation of the land and their culture. As institutions of higher education, we are responsible for providing our Indigenous community members with access, belonging, and success in their educational pursuits within an environment which celebrates their culture. We are responsible for educating all of our community members about Indigenous histories and culture. We are responsible for examining and taking action to address the injustices of colonization and occupation which have perpetuated harm against Indigenous, Black, Brown, and other communities. Through this acknowledgement, we honor the Kumeyaay people and express our commitment to truth and respect as the foundation of our relationship.
Thank you, Trustee Lopez. And could you please lead us now in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you, Board President. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have no readouts from closed session. We are pleased to welcome our student trustees for the 2026-2027 year. If they will all like to come to the front of the room, I will administer the oath of office. Were you gonna say something?
No, I didn't know you were gonna do that.
Yeah. No, right away. No. Hello. Where would you like to live here? Right? Yeah, no, all together? Oh, okay. Okay. Where do you want me to stand? Right here? That's fine. Okay. Thank you. Welcome. Happy to have you. So now, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I say your name. Do solemnly swear that all of my actions as a student member of the governing board of the San Diego Community College District would at all times attempt to represent faithfully all students' interests and viewpoints in matters coming to my attention as a student member of the governing board. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. Congratulations and welcome. Take a picture. Okay. Moving on our agenda, has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? Are there any additions or corrections? No, the minutes stand approved. Are there any items to remove from the agenda?
No items to remove.
Thank you. The consent calendar allows the Board of Trustees to vote on a group of items that are routine, standard, non-controversial, or self-explanatory. As always, any items in Section 9, Board Policies, and 10, New Business, will automatically be pulled for discussion, as will Section 16, Information Items. Are there any items to pull for discussion in Section 11? I see 1102. Section 12, we have no items. Section 13 by Budget and Finance, we have 1301, 1305. Section 14, Human Resources, we have 1404, 1405, and 1409. And for Facilities, Building, and Real Estate, Section 15, we have 1508, 09, 1510, 1511, 1512, and 1513. Does the Academic Senate wish to pull any items at this time? Thank you. Colleagues, may I have a motion and a second on this item?
So moved. Second.
Moved by trustee Senior, second by trustee Magana. Will the members please vote?
Vote right there. There you go.
The item passes unanimously and we have our consent calendar. Now I would like to take a pause before we move forward to public comment. We have present with us today County Supervisor Monica Montgomery Stepp, and we are very grateful to have you. And to respect your time, I know that it's been a busy time for you. We welcome you to come and provide public comment at this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam President. I appreciate that. It's good to see every one of you. Congratulations to the student trustees, and thank you for allowing me to speak. Really, before I begin my comments, they are around a couple of concerns that I do have that I hope that we can get together and meet post comments. But I want to say thank you for the work that you do for our educational system and for our community, entire community, the broad community that you serve. I come today with public comment about some concerns that I have. I want to raise these concerns on behalf of the many members of the community that have come to me and shared their concerns around treatments of leaders of color, anti-Blackness, and the broader impact these situations have on trust with the district and the communities. There is a growing perception that leaders of color are subjected to heightened scrutiny, public criticism, and reputational harm before facts are established. When allegations are ultimately found to be unsubstantiated, the damage to individuals, programs, and communities often remain. I am concerned as a partner with you all and with those in the district, concerned about those long-term consequences of allowing false narratives to persist without meaningful efforts to correct the public record. Silence can unintentionally reinforce misinformation and leave community members believing that wrongdoing occurred when investigations ultimately determined otherwise. There are many legal and personnel limitations that you all have. I know I experienced those as well. But really what I'm asking for is the acknowledgement of if harm has occurred and taking steps to restore trust in the integrity of the institutional processes. When allegations receive public attention, but exoneration receives little or no acknowledgement, the result is often a lasting stain on an individual's professional reputation and career. We do have the responsibility to pursue investigations for sure. We have a responsibility to make sure that they are fair, but also to consider the consequences when individuals are publicly accused and then later cleared of wrongdoing. So what I would just ask is and work with you on steps that are being taken to address the harm that has occurred while we try to restore trust in these processes. I also wanted to touch on something that is somewhat personal to me as well, and that is the impact on apprenticeship readiness program and students. I was particularly disheartened to learn that the apprenticeship readiness program, a program I worked alongside with many others to establish, and something that I also want to make sure that I work with the San Diego Workforce Partnership to help restore funding, that the program was ultimately eliminated following the unilateral decision of one employee. This program served more than 60 students through 2 cohorts and provided pathways into high-wage, high-demand careers for individuals who have historically been excluded from those opportunities. The loss of this program represents more than a loss of a service. It represents lost opportunities for students, families, and community. I have heard concerns from community members that important initiatives serving students have been negatively impacted by controversy and misinformation. We should be mindful of the unintended consequences when programs become casualties of unresolved narratives, because obviously it does impact the entire community. Because these public attacks have been witnessed throughout the community, they've created an environment in which others may feel emboldened to question, undermine, or target leaders of color within the district. I would just say we're in a tough place in history right now, and it's very, very important for us to practice equity, inclusion, belonging. I know because I've worked with you all that it is extremely important to you. I would just say we have to continue and fight that good fight and ensure that we are restoring the reputations of those who may have been either intentionally or unintentionally harmed. As elected leaders and public servants, I do feel we have a responsibility to ensure that due process is respected, investigative processes are not weaponized, and that every employee is treated with dignity and fairness. And so I would ask for your continued partnership and commitment to equity, that it not just be reflected in our words, but how we respond when harm does occur, how we support those who have been wrongfully accused, and how we protect the programs and students who are affected by these decisions. And again, I'm available for more discussion as we move forward. I truly appreciate your partnership. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Coming to provide public comment, Supervisor. Okay, now we move to public comment. The board is open to receiving public comments, and this is the public comment period of our board agenda. If anyone participating remotely would like to make public comment, please email boardoffice@sdccd.edu for further direction. Remarks are limited to 4 minutes or 32 minutes for a group speaking on the same subject, which will be monitored by the board secretary. Unless it's an emergency, no action will be taken at this board meeting, but your concerns will be referred to the chancellor and you will be notified of the chancellor's findings and recommendations. Before we have the public comments read, we will call on the academic senates first. From City College, you have Mona Alsaremi Espiritu. Welcome, Mona.
Board of Trustees and Board President Ario, nice haircut.
Thank you.
And welcome to the new student trustees and Jesse Lopez, who is our student trustee. Really excited to see you here in this role. So I'll start with reading the resolutions, and forgive me, it feels like this exact day, I just started experiencing midlife vision changes. So I'm trying to figure out if my phone or my computer will work best. So I will do my best, just please be patient. I think reading glasses are in order. So I'm going to start with the resolutions that passed on our 5/18 Academic Senate meeting. There were, I believe, 2 resolutions and then 1 voting item that was not a resolution. The first one is titled San Diego City College Academic Senate Resolution Supporting Equitable Leadership and Governance Practices. This resolution was adapted from an ASCCC Academic Senate, a state academic senate resolution that passed at plenary. And the focus of this resolution is both to inspire our colleges to develop processes for leadership roles and non-classroom roles like reassigned time roles for faculty, which tend to be leadership focused, that are equitable, reduce gatekeeping in those processes to make way for faculty who may not typically get access to those opportunities. So I will focus on the resolved statements first. Resolved that the San Diego City College Academic Senate, the San Diego City College Administration, and the San Diego Community College District ensure that faculty appointments to committee leadership roles or non-teaching campus roles reflect EEO principles by promoting inclusive outreach, mitigating bias in selection processes, and supporting equitable access to leadership opportunities for all faculty in alignment with Title V EEO requirements and district policy. And resolved that the San Diego City College Academic Senate develop leadership pipelines and mentorship opportunities that intentionally recruit, mentor, and support historically underrepresented faculty, including but not limited to Black faculty, Latinx faculty, faculty of color, and part-time faculty for participation in local and statewide academic senate leadership roles. And so this resolved statement is specifically focused on holding our Senate accountable to this same standard, which we are working our hardest to do. One way we do this is to try to sponsor faculty to attend state Senate events, even faculty who are not currently involved in academic senate, to try to get them into a leadership pipeline, because it is not always easy. And these kinds of opportunities help faculty to get hooked in. Resolved that the San Diego City College Academic Senate, the San Diego City College, and San Diego City College San Diego Community College District provide or facilitate equity-minded governance training focused on identifying and eliminating gatekeeping practices that hinder equitable participation in shared governance, including training aligned with Title V EEO best practices and the district's EEO plan. And that the San Diego City College Academic Senate regularly review and update its bylaws and campus policies regarding committee structures, leadership appointment processes, and leadership representation to ensure alignment with ideas, principles, Title V, EEO regulations, the San Diego Community College District EEO plan, and the goals of the ASCCC Faculty Empowerment Leadership Idea Principles. What we hope for this resolution at the district level is when there are opportunities at the district level, that they are very consistently following a process that is equitable, open, and democratic, so that there are multiple opportunities for people to apply, that it is very clear and transparent what the process looks like, how people apply, how decisions are made. And that's not just once in a while, but like consistently for all positions. And you may know I'm already working on some of this. I have been working with our vice chancellors to make visible some of the positions that exist and to help develop processes to ensure that that this kind of alignment exists. Okay, let's try. So our next, the next voting item I'll go over is our FHP faculty hiring prioritization list. So I won't go through the entire list, but I will just share, and I've already emailed this to you all, that this is approved by the Senate on an annual basis. And so what I have sent to you is the list that is in effect on July 1st. The first position is counselor, which is very different than our previous lists. And I want to highlight that this process was completely different. We created a new process, a work group of faculty created a new process, which created a different outcome. And the process did really focus on training, equity, and making sure that, that we are doing the right thing for the college as a whole, for the institution, and not just individual departments. And our process was actually requested to be included in the State Chancellor's EEO Best Practices Handbook, which might be jumping the gun a little because it is new. But after having tried it out this year, I think we can confidently say it is definitely working better than our previous process, and that we will continue refining it. And then next item is the resolution calling for a pause on the use of license plate readers at San Diego City College during a state of emergency. And before I read this, we have some fans. I will share that Ricky has already shared, well, actually, before we voted on this item, he did share that the license plate readers will be paused. And that, so it seems like we are already in progress towards that goal. So that's exciting. A lot of the students who you see here have been a part of that process. They're very focused on making sure that our students are safe, particularly from ICE. So I will read the resolve statements. Resolved that the San Diego City College Academic Senate calls for an immediate pause on the use and expansion of license plate readers on campus during this time of emergency due to the risk that collected data could be accessed or leaked to immigration and customs enforcement or other external entities, and thereby endangering students. Resolved that the Academic Senate urges the administration and the San Diego Community College District to conduct a comprehensive review of all surveillance technologies currently in use, including LPRs, with particular attention to data storage, access policies, and third-party vendor agreements. So this is not just in relation to City College, but I think should be a concern of all of our campuses. I know we have surveillance technology in use at other campuses, and so I think this would be helpful for the district to look at as a whole. Resolved that any future consideration of LPR use must include consultation with privacy experts, legal scholars, and immigration rights advocates, full transparency regarding data collection, retention, and sharing practices, guarantees that no data will be shared with federal immigration enforcement agencies, and a rigorous cost-benefit analysis demonstrating clear improvements to student success and safety. Now, I should say that C, the guarantee that data will not be shared with federal immigration or enforcement agencies, has been guaranteed by our district and our district police. But what I think needs to be improved in that area is that we need some kind of guarantee that there won't be an accidental leak, or at the very least, some kind of more information about the measures that are taken to prevent that leak. Because I know there's no guarantee our data is never safe, but at the very least, having some understanding for faculty, for students, that there are measures in place to prevent that would be helpful. And then resolved that the Academic Senate calls on the administration to prioritize safety strategies that build community trust, protect privacy, and ensure that all students and employees, regardless of immigration status, can access education and employment without fear. Resolved that the Academic Senate urges meaningful engagement with students, faculty, and staff in developing alternative, non-surveillance-based approaches to campus safety that uphold San Diego City College's commitment to equity, inclusion, and student success. And I just want to publicly thank Dr. Ricky Shabazz for engaging students and faculty in this discussion and for helping us to advocate and to overall helping us to feel safer at our campus. The impact of that collaboration is great, and I think overall we already feel that there will be a significant change in the fall based on that. And those are the resolutions that I have. I do want to share a couple of updates. I also shared with the board a document that I shared with our Senate that I call our annual Academic Senate annual report. In this report, and let me preface this by highlighting that this is most likely my last meeting as Academic Senate President. I think this is our last meeting in June. So this will be my last meeting as Senate President. At the end of June, my time expires, and Nick Slanglin, the President-elect, will be taking over as President. And so as part of the end of my term, I think it's important to highlight what we have done as a Senate, and particularly focusing on this academic year. So I won't go over every part of it, but I do want to focus on some of the areas that are remaining. We did make a lot of progress in certain areas. So for example, we passed 9 resolutions, collaborated to create this academic year only. We collaborated to create a new transparent election system at our campus, advocated for additional part-time faculty shared governance pay. We have not been successful yet. That's a union issue. Revised FHP processes and created a replacement process, which I have already shared. We started 5 Academic Senate ad hoc work groups, and that's where most of our work took place. In those work groups outside of the Senate, work groups were created based on what faculty expressed the need to improve or change. And I'll read you the names of those work groups. Parliamentary procedures, which as I've shared before, we did eliminate Robert's rules successfully, and just an update on that. It's been working beautifully, I think. It turns out we don't need an 800-page book of rules. We do fall back on democratic rules of order, which is similar. We revised the instructional faculty student evaluation questionnaire in a work group. We revised the faculty hiring prioritization process in a work group. We started to revise the faculty reassign time process in a work group, but that is incomplete. And we are also working on a dual enrollment CCAP work group, addressing some of the issues that were raised in the town hall with Chancellor Smith at our campus. New committees include OER ZTC. We have an ongoing FHP committee, a sustainability committee, and we might revisit our AI work group because it seems like there's continuing work on our campus for that. And then as it pertains to this board, there are remaining concerns, right? Of course, all of the work is not started and then finished in 2 neat years. I wish it was. Specifically at the district level, I think one of the areas that we continue to struggle with is AI. And that's really what we need support with, is really looking at what's happening with faculty. What do faculty need support with? We are struggling with AI and the way that it's changing our classrooms, particularly online classrooms. It's becoming harder and harder to know that there's a real student behind the computer, and know that a real student is completing real work. That's threatening the livelihood, our livelihood, what we do, and really our the intent of our careers. So we desperately need support with addressing issues with academic integrity in AI. At the district level, I know there's a lot of work being done on AI in a lot of different areas, but just understanding that there are faculty who won't use it. There are faculty who don't need to use it. There are disciplines who don't find it particularly useful for their discipline, and meeting them where they are at, I think, is really important in the AI discussion. And then figuring out a way to address concerns of academic integrity in online classes, I think, is an emergency, because as we graduate more and more students and transfer more and more students, there will be concerns if our students don't know how to read and write, and are not able to, don't have the skills that they need for the workforce. I think dual enrollment concerns, that's also an ongoing issue. I think we brought up several different issues the last time you were on campus, Chancellor Smith, and I think that there is a need to revisit some of those concerns. So it looks like there will be a resolution from our Senate coming up in the fall regarding some of those concerns. So we do hope that as we try to increase dual enrollment, we continue to look for solutions to solve some of those problems. And that is all I have for our academic senate overview. There's also a number of students here to address a resolution that passed in our academic senate regarding our corporate council and overall just the ethical partnerships. And I know that some changes may have been made to the website regarding corporate council members. But one thing that has been very clear is that we still don't fully understand what those relationships look like, the nature of the relationships with the corporate council members, how that impacts our programming, how that impacts our students, how much is funding being provided for scholarships? Are we accepting funding for scholarships from companies that are unethical? Because it seems like it would be problematic to do so. And so the lack of transparency is a major concern from an academic senate perspective. I would hope that when a resolution like this comes up, that we're immediately invited to have a conversation about what these partnerships look like, what these partnerships are about, and how they do or don't impact our campuses. The other part of that I have had a conversation with our college president about this several times, and one of the conversations was around a job fair recently at our campus, in which General Dynamics were invited, NASCO, and General Dynamics is known to very actively provide infrastructure for Israel's genocide. After sending the resolution to the people who are putting this job fair together, it sounds like there might be an understanding that they are not invited to our campus in the future, and I hope that's accurate. But I just want to advocate for that to be consistent, right? For us to consistently look at who we are inviting. I know we would not invite ICE to our campus. I hope we wouldn't invite private prison corporations to our campus to offer jobs to our students. We should be thinking the same in terms of all of the companies and organizations that we invite. companies that are affiliated with anyone committing a war crime do have no place on our campus, even if those jobs are well-paying jobs, right? Because I do know that ICE offers well-paying jobs. And I just can't imagine our campus leadership saying, well, we have to let them come to campus because they're offering these great paying jobs. You know, this is a living wage for our students because our students don't want those. I mean, some of them might, but overall, we have a commitment to something more important, right? We have our moral code, and I'm going to repeat. You know, every single time I'm here, I hear this really beautiful land acknowledgement, and one line that keeps ringing is, we are responsible for educating all our community members about Indigenous histories and cultures. We are responsible for examining and taking action to address the injustices of colonization and occupation. And I want to highlight the taking action part. If we are obligated in our land acknowledgement, and our land acknowledgement should be the compass for our action, not just a performative statement. If we are obligated to take action against colonization and occupation and oppression, then we need to look at the issue of our corporate sponsors, our corporate partners with the very same lens, and look at what affiliations those corporate members, those corporate partners have. And at this point, I don't think we can even say that that associating any company with genocide is controversial. I think it's pretty well accepted that genocide is bad, killing a lot of people is bad, and any company that's affiliated that should be it should be known that it's not appropriate, and that we should make it very clear to them that that relationship needs to change. And as a result, we hope, right, this is the point of BDS, that eventually those corporations change their behavior and they start deciding, like, we no longer want to be affiliated with genocide. We will no longer provide weapons for Israel as they are currently committing these crimes. And so as far as BDS goes, we play one little role, right? And as far as stopping these crimes, we play one role, and our role is just saying no. Saying we have an issue with this part of your company. And then the companies eventually, after being told this multiple times, are obligated, will be obligated because of fiscal reasons to change their ways. And so I just ask the board and the chancellor that we take this very seriously. This is a moral moment in history. And our students have spoken multiple times with a resolution on ethical procurement, a resolution on corporate sponsors, which definitely overlap, that we take our land acknowledgement seriously, we take our morals and our values as a district seriously, that we are as serious about not allowing ICE on our campus as we are, and not doing business with ICE as we are with other companies that are equally morally problematic. And that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have from Mesa College, Academic Senate President Mary Wynn.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon. Our Senate won't meet again until September, so I really don't have that much to report. We had a wonderful graduation celebration where more than 2,000 degrees and more than 400 certificates were awarded, and you all were there, and thank you for being there. It was really awesome. And I also want to publicly thank the rest of the classified professionals and administrators and faculty for their participation in graduation that day and everything else to make graduation possible for students. Two more things. We had a wonderful meeting at the at Mesa. It was hosted by the Muslim Student Association, and it was it was an event for the community as a response to the shooting at the Islamic Center that happened about a week before. And it was a really meaningful event for the students and everyone else who was there. I'm very thankful trustee Senior was there and our president was there, Ashanti Hands. It was a wonderful event. We heard from Imam Taha Hassan, Omar Abusham from the Council on American Islamic Relations. And there was one other speaker, and I didn't catch his name, but he's a guy in the community. He's a surgeon, and his children attend school in SDCCD, and I didn't catch his name. But their words were very impactful. I think it really helped the students. I really think it helped the community that day. So yeah, it was just a very good event. And then lastly, I want to publicly thank the faculty at Mesa in general for doing everything that they did this last academic year and always. And I specifically want to mention the good work that one of the programs in my school, so this is a shameless plug for my school, it's the SEEDS Scholar Program, and SEEDS stands for STEM Engagement for the Enrichment of Diverse Students. And it's a federally funded program that's flourished under the supervision of Dr. Waverly Ray and Kristen Monteverdi, two of our geography faculty. And this program is small, but it's very impactful. It involves transnational approaches to sustainable food futures, work experience, undergraduate research, interdisciplinary faculty and peer mentoring, and a lot more. And one of the things that I think is truly remarkable is this garden space that we have at Mesa, where this year they've been able to donate more than 300 pounds of food to students that students grew and the community has participated in. It's just a really great thing. So anyway, I just wanted to give a shout out to them, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Now we move to Miramar College.
Rodrigo Gomez has indicated that he is not able to attend. Same with Richard Weinroth.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you.
So then, what about our classified senates? They're here to provide an update.
Let's see. I do not believe so.
Okay. Thank you, Amanda. So now, let's call on those that have completed a comment card.
Our first speaker will be Monica Romero.
Good afternoon, members of the Board of Trustees. Chancellor, thank you for allowing us to provide an update from the San Diego Management Association and for your continued partnership and support. First, we want to share a quick summary of our annual SDMA event that was held last week, which brought together over 100 managers from across SDCCD to celebrate service, leadership, together in community, and the roles that managers play across the district. We were especially grateful for President Arroyo, Trustee Senior, and Trustee Magana for attending the event. Having you there made a difference for our membership to have you join us in the celebration. We also were able to celebrate Chancellor Smith's 5-year service, and thank you, President Arroyo, for your comments regarding Chancellor Smith. The event provided an opportunity to recognize also our retirees in attendance, those whose service particularly make an impact with our institutional knowledge and help shape SDCCD over many, many decades. In particular, we were pleased to recognize former Chancellor Agustin Gallego, who is in attendance, and that reflected the enduring connections that SDCCD has within our community. We also celebrated the return of our SDMA Outstanding Leadership Awards, which recognizes managers at each site who exemplify service, collaboration, and commitment to SDCCD's mission. This year, we honored 5 honorees from each site. City College was Roxanne Solis. College of Continuing Education, Dr. Franklin Garrett. District Office, Dika Shabra. Mesa College, Cassandra Story, and at Miramar College, Dan Roberts. Next time you see the managers, we encourage you to take a moment to congratulate them. Next, SDMA would like to take A moment to share our position on today's agenda item 14.05, I apologize, the proposed creation of additional management positions within Operations, Enterprise Services, and Facilities Division. After reviewing the information provided, SDMA is unable to support the creation of these additional management positions at this time. Our concern is not with the importance of the work. We recognize the significant operational demands associated with facilities, constructions, and bond-related work. However, we believe the rationale for converting contracted work into management positions warrants further review and should be based on SDCCD's long-term organizational needs and not specialized knowledge or continuity of one individual. We also believe the district should evaluate whether these needs can continue to be met through consultants or other appropriate structures. In addition, SDMA has concerns about whether all proposed classifications are appropriately placed within management or whether other duties align more closely with other employee units. These are important classification and organizational questions that deserve careful consideration. The organizational materials provided do not present a complete view of OES division. Given significant growth in its division, particularly in management positions, SDMA believes a comprehensive organizational chart is needed. That chart should include current and all proposed structures, contract positions, and a clear explanation of how these roles fit into the broader organization, both short and long term. Transparency is essential when SDCCD considers creating new classifications and positions, particularly within the management ranks. It was communicated to SDMA that these were time-sensitive positions due to the bond. The work of these positions is currently contracted out and can continue to do so. We respectfully request the board send this item back for further discussion among multiple stakeholders, including SDMA, SPA, and AFT, to determine if these classifications should be established and brought into the districts as employees, and if so, ensure the various stakeholders more clearly understand the underlying rationale and appropriate classification placement, and also review by Prop H&H Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. Lastly, we want to address the SDCCD Commission salary study recently received by SDMA. We appreciate receiving the data and look forward to discussing its findings and in greater detail. The study reinforces what SDMA members have been raising for some time. Ongoing discrepancies in management compensation must be addressed to support fairness, competitiveness, retention, and organizational stability. Managers across SDCCD carry significant responsibilities for programs, operations, compliance, budgets, facilities, student support, and institutional initiatives. Many of these responsibilities have expanded substantially in recent years, often without corresponding adjustments to compensation. SDCCD must remain competitive with peer institutions to recruit, retain, and support experienced and effective managers. SDMA looks forward to a thoughtful and productive conversation regarding the study's findings and the steps needed to ensure managers are compensated in an appropriate and competitive rate so SDCCD can continue supporting experienced leaders and serving students effectively. In closing, SDMA appreciates the opportunity to update the board this afternoon. We made continued commitment to the partnership, transparency, and constructive dialogue. We are proud of the work that managers do across SDCCD, and we look forward to continuing to work with the board, the chancellor, and executive leadership to support our members and the mission of the Community College District. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker is Purita Javier.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I am Purita Javier. Thank you, members of the board, we are all here to work with your think, learn, and come up solutions adequately, timely, efficiently, and effectively. Good governor
Governance.
demands, isn't it, for most planning for the surrounding ability, survivability of our Mother Earth, man, his shelter, society, and mobility, circulation, independent, and mobility, circulation, independent city like the capital city of San Diego, empirically a must to consider. Thank God our region has a candidate of Sandag, given the authority by under Sam to focus and lead in planning and implementation of mobility and circulation, 1/5 of the undertaking of the city. Clearly, there's a double duplication of efforts here in city and Sandag and even at county. In our heart, soul, and mind, we are in the rightful jurisdiction because city and county elected officials are parts of the chains. An association. Number 2, are you there? Your environmental concern, hazardous business on ceramics manufacturing with kiln facilities emitting what's that position poison POC poison gas located, constructed, and
sorry, your time is up.
operated in a residential zone. Demander.
It's time.
Huh?
It's time.
Done.
We, Cesar and Purita, both seniors with existing medical condition and victim of poison gas next door ceramics manufacturing. And we learned that the owner is a graduate of ceramics vocational training at Mesa College. Our beloved Honorable Board Supervisor, a former councilor of the city of San Diego, is very, very aware of our community concern. It was a miracle that surprisingly, Mr. Cesar and Purita are here. And she's gone now. And you heard the sharing of some kind of equity, some kind of transparency as far as Black African or colored racial issue. We are very thankful because she is trying to solve this issue. But I must tell you, for 5 years of voicing our concern, which is a crucial thing to plan and execute some solutions, particularly on this, you might be very familiar with this issue, but it is ignored, neglected. Victims of the Tijuana River Valley pollution crisis. We will ask you not to reprimand or admonish anyone here or to point finger, hey, wake up, do something. It's true. It is ignored, it is neglected, and I could say that education has some kind of accountability here. The essence of working together in our Constitution seems to be ignored. Is our educational system failing on this? I would say to some degree, yes. Because we always thought, mind your own business. Don't mind others' business. It's a wrong educational approach. Education means social engineering for improvement, good, better, best direction. And so we say this, let us work together because people in our community, like us seniors, are victims. We're spending money out of our pension. The government is spending Medicare and Medical wasted because the cure is just merely uproot the cause, remove the cause. Actually, I am only taking vitamin C and D, but my wife here has 11 medication. If we uproot the cause, then probably our prolonged, healthy, and meaningful fulfillment in life would be achieved. Sirs, mademoiselles, I think this is our goal, to live longer. To keep ourselves fulfilled, not only for ourselves and loved ones, but for others. That is one missing in our curriculum or education. I was once an attending student, National University, graduate study in education, and I learned to my heart the basic needs. Clean air. Clean
I'm
water,
sorry, you're out of time.
clean food. And please, in our curriculum, let's plan for health education program, occupation, please, and we address the crisis victims of the Tijuana River pollution, which you are supposed to contribute. Sirs, thank you so much for your hearing us.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Serena Cruz.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Serena Kuza. I'm here today with SJP and CPI Students for Economic Justice. It's nice to see you all again, board, and welcome our new student trustee. We're back here again for a couple of reasons. To urge the district to take in action on 3 critical issues: emergency preparedness regarding ICE activity, ethical district partnerships, and privacy. First, we are calling on the district to support the Emergency Response Committee's ICE Out plan. The ERC has already developed a comprehensive response strategy and training programs to prepare our campus in the event of ICE activity. We ask the district to endorse these trainings and encourage participation by students, faculty, and staff. Admin support is, of course, essential to ensure that our campus community is informed, coordinated, and prepared to respond appropriately should ICE enter our campuses. Protecting students and ensuring everyone understands their rights and responsibilities requires productive education and collaboration. Second, we are demanding that the district cut ties with the corporate council members that support genocide, militarization, and the funding of agencies such as ICE. Specifically, we are calling on the district to sever its relationship with NAVWAR, otherwise known as NASCO. We also ask for transparency regarding all contract agreements and partnerships between the district and these entities. We have been in contact with district legal, in which we have gotten the response that there are no existing documents of support, but we know that that can't be the case unless for some reason the meetings have been made private or the meeting notes and contracts are not public. Our educational institutions should not be aligned with organizations that contribute to systems of violence, war, and human rights abuses. Our academic senate, as well as ASG, have passed this resolution, so the district does have an obligation to comply with the Be It Resolves that Mona read earlier. Just as our district does not conduct business with ICE, it should not maintain relationships with organizations that enable or support these same harmful systems. Just like we wouldn't invite ICE onto our campuses because they are offering a living wage job for students, there is no excuse to have any of these corporate council members be an acceptable partner of our district, let alone be on our campuses at events like student recruitment fairs. Third, you heard from Mona all about the license plate readers. We all deserve to learn and work in environments that don't contribute to surveillance concerns when the data can be mismanaged or used against our communities. We have recently seen what can happen with Flock and ALPRs, and we should learn from City Council and its recent failures to protect its people. Academic Senate at City College has passed the resolution pausing the use of license plate readers and recognizing that serious questions do remain regarding their safe and responsible implementation, right? So we support that decision and believe that if these technologies cannot be demonstrated to protect privacy and prevent misuse, that pause should be extended indefinitely. These issues all share a common principle, right? Protecting our campus communities, whether it's safeguarding students from immigration enforcement, ensuring our district's partnerships reflect our values. Once again, that's always the case. Or defending privacy rights. The district continues to have a responsibility to act in the best interests of its students and its workers. So we urge you to support these ERC trainings to increase transparency and end partnerships with harmful council members, and commit to keeping license plate readers off of our campuses. Thank you, board, for your work, and we can't wait to see you again next semester with our continued collaboration. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Grace Rojas Jimenez.
Hi, my name is Grace Rojas Jimenez. My pronouns are she, they, it, and I'm a part of ACE, Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment, and also CPI, Center on Policy Initiatives, Students for Economic Justice, as an intern. We're here today as students to come forth with these demands that we need emergency response committee and the district to support it for ICE out of plans, for ICE out plan. So I also do ICE watches, and a couple months ago at the San Diego College of Continuing Education, there was an abduction close to the campus, like right by where the where they have the plumbing or the. I'm so sorry. I didn't write anything, but I'm trying to recall. So basically, there was an abduction, and me and a comrade went, and basically we did not see the scene, but there was people and students and faculty who saw it. They basically broke into the car. And so like all the window was shattered, and this was a neighbor in the community. And so the trauma that the community members and the faculty seeing that, we were able to gather information. And I also want to appreciate the faculty there to be because they were being very supportive in that situation. So yeah, again, just further like implementing that's important to have a plan to have ICE out. But again, students don't feel safe when they do see that. And that can be traumatic, and especially for me and people of color, because I don't feel safe when I see those situations happening, and especially close to schools, because that's a place of learning and we shouldn't be experiencing that. So I would even suggest like we should have like ICE have like a certain amount away from schools, like a certain, what is it, like distance, there you go. Yeah, so distance. And so, yeah, that's something that I would suggest, but yeah. And then no corporate council members that support ICE or genocide. Again, we are currently facing a genocide right now, and the US and Israel are the ones who are committing it. So we need to do our stance as US citizens to get these people who invest on ICE and genocide out of our campuses. Because again, we want to feel safe as students, and we don't want to have our monies invested on these corporations that profit off of death of people and students. So yeah, let's continue on with that, and no license plate readers on campus. Yeah, again, all of this makes us feel unsafe and not wanting to be in campuses, because those are things that are important
I'm sorry, your
for
time is
learning.
up.
And yes, thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Daniel Gomez.
Hello, good evening. My name is Daniel Gomez, representing San Diego City College with JSP and Mecha. I want to be clear about our community was asking for transparency and accountability. We need full transparency regarding our contact agreements and documents between these companies of our district. Between these companies, the public deserves to know who is doing business with our school, what services are being provided, and how these relationships align with our district values and responsibilities. Transparency is not an option, it's a necessity for our buildings, trust with students, families, education, and educators of the border community. Furthermore, I believe we must carefully evaluate who we choose to partner with. If companies' actions and practices conflict with values of our district claims to uphold, we should seriously question whether partnership should continue. Just as our district had chosen not to business with ICE, we should apply the same standards and inspections and accountabilities with these companies. Our school should reflect our communities that begin with openness, public oversight, and dedication to ensure that every partnership serves the best interest of our students and families and faculties. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Evani Zazueta. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced that.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Ivani Sasueta. I am here to provide you all an update regarding the public records request form I submitted earlier this semester. The report provided covers a period from 2011 to 2021. As you can see, the information received is outdated, but is the most recent report the San Diego Community College District has produced. The report provided does indeed prove the major corporate council members, such as BAE Systems, General Dynamics, NASCO, and Navoir, have economic ties with San Diego Community College District through various forms of financial means. The corporations mentioned frequently request student engagement when it comes to generating their workforce, are given special privileges, and therefore the report supports a resolution on improving the ethical standing of the San Diego Community College District by eliminating all ties with companies, organizations affiliated with human rights violations as defined by the United Nations. I believe that our students' passion for learning is being misguided by allowing such corporations to lead us into harm's way. Myself and many others understand that these companies may provide students with job experience and competitive wages, but that does not clear them from their moral obligations. For example, would we allow ICE to host job fairs on campus or hand out brochures promoting them? They also provide competitive pay. I believe we wouldn't promote ICE because we don't agree with what they stand for. We need to understand that financial gain should not cause human suffering. Why should these other corporations who are profiting from genocide be treated differently? We deserve to work together as a collective to not inflict any kind of harm to anyone. With further research done, I want to mention, according to USAspending.gov, the Department of Homeland Security, which is entirely responsible for ICE, funded General Dynamics for ammunition, explosives, and more from 2019 to 2025. It is our duty to ensure our integrity and financial responsibility to our students is upheld. The San Diego Community College District needs to give the resolution on improving the ethical standing of the San Diego Community College District by eliminating all ties with companies, organizations affiliated with human rights violations as defined by the United Nations to General Dynamics, and make it clear that our student body and faculty is not in favor of their unrighteous and unethical behavior. The following are examples I pulled from the report. Page 27 lists corporate council members who join the Chancellor Circle are given additional privileges with the San Diego Community College District. For example, corporate council member logos are included in major district publications such as schedule of classes, the annual report, the district's website, and other publications. The report also goes on to list how these corporations are interested in students here at SDCCD to fulfill work roles and are actively working to have a presence on campus. Notable pieces of evidence are of the following. General Dynamics is also looking at local community colleges to fulfill their workforce requirements. They are looking to hire 10,000 employees within the coming years. Page 19. The following are quotes from the report. BAE Systems depends on the community colleges in the region's further training needs. Page 2. Spay War, which was previously NAVOR, is looking forward to evolving the current partnership with San Diego City College.
I'm sorry, your time is up.
That's unfortunate, but thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Angel Martinez.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Angel Moises Martinez, a student of City College, majoring in graphic design. I'm also the elected chairman of MECHA, the City College, and a strong ally for Student Justice for Palestine. Since the last time we met, our students successfully advocated for passing the resolution to improve the ethical standing of San Diego City College District, and we advocated for putting a pause on the use of license plate readers on campus during a state emergency, during our academic senate. And we also have built up our emergency response coalition with the help of students, professors, and community organizations and more. Today, your students ask for a helping hand in getting support, your support, administrative and district-wide support for our resolutions and concerns regarding safety on campus. We need your support to institutionalize our emergency response coalition as we would like to see our entire district insured and aware of our response plan in case of ICE invading one or more of our campuses. Second, we need your support for ensuring transparency about our corporate council. We don't want to make deals with corporations who are actively contributing to genocide and ICE. San Diego City College has a social justice commitment that we must live up to, as well as our land acknowledgement that states we commit to providing transformative educational experiences for all campus members and guests as we examine practices that perpetrate harm against Indigenous, Black, Brown, and other marginalized communities. Like Mona said, we should be honoring it. And third, support with calling on the district to ensure license plate readers are not putting our students and faculty in danger. We serve a city with a high immigrant population and from various parts of the world. And we don't want to jeopardize our students and faculty, and especially the students who are just pursuing higher education. And these students are human beings, not illegal aliens, not criminals. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to collaborating with you for a better world.
Thank you. That concludes this part of the public comment. There is a public comment speaker that wants to speak to item 11.02. So we will hold them up at that time.
Before we address the
Correct.
other. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Do we have any call for presentations by exclusive agents?
No.
But we do have something on item 702.
You just have to read it.
I have to read it. At the May 14, 2026 meeting of the San Diego Community College District Board of Trustees, American Federation of Teachers, AFT, Guild Local 1931 President Jim Mailer presented the initial proposal from AFT for the successor collective bargaining agreement with the AFT Guild Local 1931 College and Continuing Education Faculty Unit. Section 3547 of the Government Code requires the San Diego Community College District to also publicly sunshine initial proposals by placing them as an open agenda item for review and comment by the public. Initial proposals from both parties are attached for public review and comment. And now we go to section 8 for report on communications, statewide and legislative issues. Chancellor Smith.
So we are waiting very impatiently at this point for the budget agreement between the Assembly and the Senate that needs to be passed on a floor vote by the 15th of this month. The governor's May revise left a lot to be desired for community college funding. The Senate's budget plan would give us nearly everything that we could hope for, reversing the TK split, using that ongoing funding for a significant investment in funding growth, a COLA to the Student Equity and Achievement Program, restoring the $60 million that was removed from the Strong Workforce Program, for nursing expansion, significant increase in deferred maintenance, student block grant funding, several other things. The Assembly's higher education budget proposal did not include any of that. And so we're eagerly waiting to find out between the Assembly and the Senate in that negotiation what their final education funding bill will look like. And then that'll need to go forward to be negotiated with the governor into a final bill. Probably the most pressing issue for us continues to be the lack of full funding for growth. Over the last 3 years now, our district has lost out in over $10 million in funding in our base apportionment allocation because of unfunded growth. We've been serving as many students as want and need to be served. And it's unfortunate that the state has put more emphasis on hold harmless district funding than the funding for districts that are growing. So we'll continue that advocacy, and we'll find out within the next day what the outcome of that negotiation between the Assembly and Senate is. There are several bills that are making their way through the process. There's still a lot of time before we get to the end of September and the final conclusion. Bills that would establish state Hispanic serving institution and Asian American, Native American, Pacific Islander serving institution designations that we support and hope will get signed into law, particularly with the threat of those programs at the federal level. Bills that would expand baccalaureate degree programs, including a nursing baccalaureate degree. Assemblymember Alvarez here in our area has sponsored a bill that would make duplication a regional consideration, meaning that any of our baccalaureate programs, any duplication objections would only be considered if they came from San Diego State, UC San Diego, or CSU San Marcos. And we think that's an appropriate solution, as the Mesa College Physical Therapy Assistant Program illustrated. Spending 3 years trying to negotiate a resolution with CSU San Bernardino, which almost no students transfer to from Mesa College, does not make much sense. I'll have further updates on those once we get back into August and the fall semester. At the federal level, the most significant thing that happened and relates to several of the public comments we just heard is a process called reconciliation, which allows a majority party to push a budget or appropriations package through without any significant debate and without any votes from the other party, is how Congress has chosen to fund immigration enforcement and U.S. Border Patrol. This is notable because back during the spring government shutdown, the White House had indicated willingness to negotiate with Senate and House Democrats on funding for those agencies, including instituting the ban on immigration enforcement at hospitals, schools, religious, and other sensitive locations. We'd been advocating heavily for that. We had met with our lawmakers in Washington, D.C. on multiple trips to explain how important that was. When the White House indicated willingness to include that in a negotiation, that was very promising. Unfortunately, that's off the table now. There's no need for the White House to negotiate with Democrats, and they have fully funded those agencies through 2028. So we'll continue to seek other means to have that legislation brought to the floor of the House and the Senate, and we'll be watching closely how midterm elections turn out to see if that's something that can be done in the upcoming Congress. That's the end of my update.
Thank you, Chancellor Smith. And now we go to the report of the trustees, starting with our new trustee, student trustee Jesse Lopez.
Thank you, Board President. For all colleges, the 2026-2027 student trustees participated in a new student leader welcome here at San Diego Community College District Office on Monday, June 8th, 2026. Student trustees were able to meet with one another with district staff, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Trustee Senior?
Yes, I had the opportunity to attend the meeting of the Muslim students a couple of days after the shooting. And that was already talked about earlier. But I want to bring up that I think we need to do a few things, more than one thing. One of the things is we need to make sure that they have a prayer space where they can pray past the time that is now available, because sometimes things close and they haven't had a chance to perform the prayers. They also need to have some degree of privacy, because the space that now is occupied, they use for different religious groups, and sometimes when they pray, they want to pray out loud and other people tell them to be quiet. So I think we need to look at meeting spaces and prayer spaces. The other difficulty is that often they can't find halal food, and so they can't eat on campus, and that's a problem. We ought to be providing items that are already appropriate for them to eat. There was a gentleman that came and that offered to do trainings for faculty, because we heard things like faculty wouldn't excuse students during the fasting, the end of fasting, and at the end of Ramadan, and yet people don't expect students to show up on Christmas. And they won't give them excuses for their exams or things. We need to educate our faculty so that the faculty understand that we have students that need these kinds of accommodations. And so I think we need to develop meetings with folks and a set of initiatives that are going to be helpful.
Ask what campus?
This was at Mesa that I attended the meeting. That's where they had the one meeting that I'm aware of. I was there, and I'm very glad I came. But we need something at all the spaces. because we have Muslim students at all four institutions. So we need to accommodate those students as well as we do students of any other religion. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Maria. Trustee Jameson?
Yes, I don't have much to report on, but I did want to say thank you to the campuses for all your hard work during this graduation season. And all that you do. Each celebration was uniquely wonderful, to say the least, but I'm very grateful for everyone involved in the planning and just all that you do, because I know it's a lot. But thank you all so much. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Trustee Jameson and Trustee Magana.
I don't have much either, but I too want to thank everyone at the colleges and even here at the district office, everyone for all the hard work that you do, especially knowing that we had so many more AA degrees, certificates that were awarded. Bachelor's degrees, yes. That there was such a big increase that and that all goes to everybody working together and the students as well. Thank you.
Mr. Milgram?
I'll just repeat that. Welcome to the new student trustees. I look forward to hearing what you have to tell us about the student experience at our district and representing us in various places to bring the student perspective to our lobbying and advocacy efforts. I want to thank Mesa College. They extended an invitation. I was able to attend their Pride Flag raising and talked a little bit about voting. And so I want to say thank you. And I appreciate that. It's hard sometimes for me to get to all the Pride flag raisings because they often happen on the same day. So I'm unable to clone myself for those kinds of things. So I appreciated the invitation. And I also appreciate all the work that went in to ensuring that we have those flagpoles on the campuses for different affinity groups. So for example, we raised the Pride flag for June. In the middle of June, around June 19th, the flag will be raised for the Juneteenth celebration and or recognition. I'm not sure it's celebration. Yeah, celebration. And so I'm glad that the work that was done to get the flags installed have now become an integral part of many affinity groups being able to show their being able to be recognized for different events in their calendars. So thanks very much. And that's it.
Thank you. And I want to say thank you to everyone for providing public comment today. I always say thank you for all the work that you do around the commencements to make sure that our students, their friends, and their families feel appreciated and celebrated. I want to give a shout out to Kat and Jorge for taking special care of us, this past commencement season. Congratulations to our classified professionals. I was happy to join their celebration at Miramar College yesterday. It was a 90s theme, and I thought it was really fun. And congratulations for another successful year. Our academic senate presidents, I think we're reflecting, a little bit on that. Welcome to our student trustees, as we're wrapping up, you're starting. So, just like my colleague said, we look forward to working with you, to hearing from you, collaborating from you. And I'll just give a shout out to the person at the back that is wearing the right jersey tonight. Go Mexico. Yay, we won. You don't have to put that on my report, Jack. Thank you. And that's the end of my report. And Chancellor, we go. Oh, and watch a little soccer, football, because football is life. Chancellor. Football is life.
Want to recognize that I'm in, a time of a lot of difficult conditions in the world. Our district has had a remarkable year, and I think it's easy to lose track of that as we grapple with so many different things that feel beyond our control in many respects. What is within our control, though, going back to 21-22, we had 34,000 full-time equivalent students across our 4 colleges. In 21-22, we were being paid from the state as if we had nearly 38,000. And in 21-22, we were receiving funding based on our 2017-2018 funding plus COLAs in every year since then. In that year, we received $40 million in revenue above what we actually would have earned under the student sending funding formula. And our ending fund balance, as you'll see in a presentation here shortly from Vice Chancellor Troy, was down to 12% of our expenses for that year. In that time, since then, we've had 4 consecutive years of enrollment growth, and that is our faculty, our counselors, our librarians, our classified professionals, and our outreach departments working closely with San Diego Unified, re-engaging adult learners through our workforce partnerships to communicate the value of what we're doing and bring our community members back to our colleges after COVID. In that time, we have taken ourselves off of the hold harmless provision, and we're earning more money under the student-centered funding formula than we would be paid in hold harmless. And our problem, as I said in my statewide report, is the state can't fund all the growth that we are receiving. We're serving more students than we're paid to serve because it is critical that we do. People in our community need us doing that work, and they need access to our classes and our faculty. And we're doing everything we can to provide as much of that access as possible, even when there isn't enough revenue to fully fund that. And it's because of the investments the board has made in restoring our financial health that we've been able to do it. And as we look at inflation reports that are very concerning, job numbers that don't entirely make sense, and trying to predict what might happen to the state budget next year or the year after, we have the financial security of being able to weather some hard years from the state without having to significantly cut access, without having to lay people off. We've built all of that foundation over the last 4 years. And we see that the benefits of that in this year, perhaps most remarkably, as Trustee Magana made reference to, this year, we had a 21% increase district-wide in associate's degrees awarded over last year, and recognize that many of those students were in high school in 2020, 2021, 2022, doing almost entirely online, and how much ink has been spilled, or maybe that's not the correct term anymore. Digital bites have been occupied by people talking about learning loss from the COVID eras of high school, and students aren't prepared to succeed in college, and we're going to have all of these major problems. Students showed up and did the work, faculty showed up and did the work, and they're succeeding at an incredible rate. I can't say all of the reasons why yet. We haven't fully dissected the data, and maybe we'll never know direct causality. But that is a remarkable reflection on the quality of work being done across our district. And is there any better measure of how we're doing than how many students are completing and moving on to transfer or into jobs? We've done that while taking significant measures to ensure that our campuses are safe, and learning from events in the past where safety wasn't as good as it could have been. We have not had ICE engagement on our campuses, and we've taken steps to ensure that that'll continue to be that way, including the advocacy I mentioned in Washington, D.C. We withstood $2.2 million in cuts to federal funds because they were diversity, equity, inclusion related. We're able to backfill those funds and continue that work, and now working with the state to be able to pass bills that will give us state designations, and working closely with the Hispanic Association colleges and universities in their advocacy. I saw Selena Martinez here briefly, but earlier this spring, she got to do a press conference alongside Senator Padilla, Representative Vargas, and others to talk about the importance of that programs and tell the story of what they mean for a student right now and how impactful that is. So I just want to take a moment to recognize there have been so much significant work, and I haven't even mentioned the progress that has been made on having 12 major construction projects in the design phase being implemented across the district. I want to point out in Props SNN, we implemented those bonds over more than a decade with construction projects happening in a much more deliberate fashion over time. We're going to have the first $2.6 billion of this bond program in 12 major projects happening simultaneously across all 4 colleges, and at some point a new district office as this building passes its useful life. It's an extraordinary thing to undertake and manage and be able to accomplish at that scale. But what I would point out most importantly is that had we done 3 major projects at a time, and it takes 4 or 5 years on each one, we wouldn't be getting to that 12th project until 20 years out. How much more will it cost 20 years from now, and how many fewer projects would we have been able to do? And so I do understand and appreciate the comments around the amount of positions that we've hired in order to implement the bond, and the questions in both directions of when is it appropriate to contract out or have consultants, when is it appropriate to have employees. And recognize those are very important issues. I hear those concerns. They're extremely serious because our effective implementation of this bond program and stewards of taxpayer dollars is what we're talking about. And how do we leverage the maximum amount of investment in our colleges for our students with responsible stewardship of the program? That is our job, right? That is our role. And I think we have done that incredibly well over this last year. So just wanted to highlight several of those things. And as we congratulate people going into the summer on their accomplishments in the year, and we thank our faculty and our classified professionals, I want to thank the board for your leadership throughout this year, navigating those challenges and helping us deliver those incredible outcomes. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Chancellor. Go to item 901.
I would recommend the board consider items 901, 2, and 3 in a single motion. These are second readings of policies that were reviewed on May 14th. They've been approved at District Governance Council and Chancellor's Cabinet. And so unless there are any specific concerns to be addressed, I'd recommend approving them in one single motion, items 901, 902, and 903.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion and a second on these 3 items?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Magana, second by trustee Jameson. Any discussion?
Yes, Board President. For item 9.03, there was one comment. One student trustee noted concern why BP 5151 is no longer being offered and how this will impact our military students.
And I can address that for the board. The military education program being reflected there is something that we did many years ago and have not done in many years. It does not change anything about our current work with our veteran service centers on each of our campuses, and particularly at Miramar College, where we have a lot of programs being offered in conjunction with MCAS. So this is an old program that doesn't exist anymore, and we're just removing it from the books. It does not diminish any of our work with our military connected families, veterans, active service members, and that programming.
Thank you for that, Chancellor.
Thank you, trustee Lopez. Anyone else? No? All right. Before we vote, student trustee Lopez, do you have anything to add, and how do you vote?
For the action for the voting items 9.01 and 9.02, my vote is A, but for voting items 9.03, my vote is to abstain.
Thank you. Will the board members please vote on these 3 items?
To pick one, sorry.
Sorry.
And Amanda will note.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. The item passes. The items, 2 items pass unanimously, and 903 with 1 from student trustee abstaining. So now we go to item 904.
Recommend the board consider 904 independently. This is the first reading of a set of policies under the general institution section, including a policy regarding service animals, policy regarding intellectual property, and renumbering of an existing consensual relationship policy that moves it into the CCLC numbering convention that we have been steadily making progress towards fully adopting. These have all been reviewed at Chancellor's Cabinet and District Governance Council, and I recommend them for approval by the board.
But you said, oh, independently.
Just 904 by itself.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Before we have a discussion, may I have a motion and a second on this item?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Senior, second by trustee Magana. Any discussion? No. Before we vote, student trustee Lopez, do you have anything to add, and how do you vote?
Not this time, Board President. My vote is aye.
Thank you. Please vote. Item 904 passes unanimously. Next items, Chancellor, 905.
Recommend the board take items 905 and 906 together. These are all policies impacting facilities in one way or another. I want to draw out attention to Board Policy 6700, public use of district property. We had considerable engagement with Vice Chancellor Peterson and his staff with the college administrative services areas. This went through a series of revisions to ensure that it aligns with the college's independence in being able to run its civic center rental programs and public use of its property with appropriate district support and governance and policy compliance. We went through several conversations to make sure that we had clarity in the language, alignment in what we intended to accomplish toward those objectives. So I want to thank our Vice President's Administrative Services and all of their staff that worked with Vice Chancellor Peterson and his staff on that. Went through several cabinet level discussions to make sure that we all understood and agreed on this before bringing it forward. Board Policy 6540 is a legal requirement that we have not previously had a board policy on regarding insurance. I assure the board we have had insurance the entire time. And so I recommend these for the board's approval.
Thank you, Chancellor. Before we have a discussion, may I have a motion and a second on these two items?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Magana, second by trustee Senior. Any discussion?
Not this time. Oh.
I have a question. For BP's 6700 for the public use of district property. I didn't see anything in the policy stating that district property can't be used for personal use. I was wondering if that is something that we may be concerned with, considering there has.
When you say for personal use, what do you mean?
I mean, since is this basically concerning only facilities, or is this about district property in general, like say a laptop or a toolkit?
Generally about the physical space.
Okay,
So the
great.
process by which someone requests to come on campus, set up a booth, do a thing,
Okay.
or rent the space to have an event.
Okay,
Yeah, the others are addressed in other policies.
okay,
So
thank you.
IT resources, there's a policy specifically around acceptable behavior and use.
All right.
Thank you.
No, she clarified it for me.
Okay. So no more discussion, questions? No? Okay. Student trustee Lopez, do you have anything to add, and how do you vote on these two items?
Not this time, Board President. My vote is aye.
Thank you. Please vote. The items pass unanimously. Chancellor 907.
Yeah, so this is a first reading of 14 human resources related policies, deletion of a duplicative and outdated policy. The majority of these are just legal updates and not substantive changes. There are a couple that I want to point out. So a couple of years ago, Title V regulations were changed to require diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility requirements in employee evaluations. And you'll see that language adopted into here. We continue to work with our bargaining and meet and confer partners on implementation of those requirements and going beyond just the regulatory requirements to really meaningful impact on the way that we're all doing our work. There's also a policy which addresses sexual harassment, employees accused of sexual harassment, and letters of recommendation. There was a lot of conversation at both Cabinet and DGC around what this means. So California law has changed to require public employers to disclose when employees have been found to, more likely than not, have committed acts of sexual harassment. And if another prospective employer reaches out, we have to disclose that information. Previously, that might be something we say was confidential and not say anything about. And so we wanted to make sure everybody was clear on who had the authority to speak on behalf of the district in that kind of formal request for information about an employee's status. And that all is only routed through people and culture. And so when it talks about letters of recommendation and uses the word official, that means you're speaking on behalf of the district versus speaking on behalf of yourself. And we each in our professional role can say, as president, as vice president, as professor, as whatever our title is, I've worked with this person for a number of years and I believe they do great work. You're speaking on yourself and your engagement. You cannot say the San Diego Community College District believes unless you have that formal authority. And so that's the distinction we're drawing here. We worked hard to make sure everybody, again, at Cabinet and DGC understood that distinction. We're not prohibiting or chilling any letters of recommendation, but we don't want anyone to unwittingly say something that might be perceived as, I have a statement from this employer that this person never committed this type of infraction, and then 7 months later I find out, and now the district has liability for not disclosing. And so that was the reason behind it, that we all are clear who can officially speak on behalf of the district and who cannot. And so just with that clarity for everyone, including for the board, who also gets asked to write letters of recommendation as individuals, not as the district or the board. Those policies are updated accordingly, and I recommend approval.
Thank you, Chancellor. May I have a motion and a second on this item?
So move.
Moved by trustee Jameson, second by trustee Senior. Any discussion on 907? No, seeing none. Student trustee Lopez, do you have anything to add and how do you vote?
Not this time, Board President. My vote is aye.
Thank you. Please vote. The item passes unanimously. Now we have item 1102, and we're gonna have public comment first.
Yes, our public commenter for this item is Cesar Javier.
Education is important. One, it teaches us how to make a living. Number two, it teaches us to live, how to live. But that number two significance is no longer taught in the school. That was a change in the process as we go along with the natural passage of time. We strongly recommend, not to enforce, but recommend working together to keep up with the times on how to do some social engineering based on survivability of man, San Diegans, to be specific in our region. We know well that survivability depends on the kind of health profile of man, the center of urban planning or even rural planning. Man, the 5 dimensions, the physical, intellectual, moral, psychological, and even spiritual. Very important. And there are so many stages, many levels along health occupation program, which we prayerfully done timely. I say this because of our experience since 1993, based on the presentation of Councilor Vivian Moreno. Environmental hazards, the air pollution, land pollution, water pollution, coastal pollution, name it. And how to get rid of this or to clean this up mess? Education, health, occupation, jobs to do the cleaning of this mess. Because this is the hazardous or environmental hazards that are killing San Diegans, to be specific. We beg, let's have some thinking on this, because our associations are thinkers, not just Hollywood actors, but rather action people, like what we have learned from Sandag. We are confused because priority is not given due respect. What is our priority now? That's our question, and that's even our challenge. That's why we join you and share our stories to back up our plea, like what we are pleading with the county, city, air pollution control district, and even Sandag. We were thankful because the District 4, represented by Superintendent Monica Stiff, to our surprise, we cross Mr. Javier, Mrs. Javier. You are everywhere. And that's the truth. We're everywhere, if only to advocate for a change, good, better, best. And we entrust into your hands, into our whole and hearts. We can work together, and we can do that. Sir Chancellor, Madam Musels, and other members of this board, we thank you. And we thank you for your services as we journey in our twilight years.
Your time is up.
Learning how to survive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Remind the board, item 1102 is approval of clinical agreements with clinical facilities. These are required for many of our allied health programs. Our students must do clinical hours under the supervision of faculty and licensed or certified professionals before they can complete their degree program. Our faculty, deans, and others in the different allied health programs work hard to ensure we have enough of those opportunities for all of our students to be able to complete timely. And so we recommend approval of these facilities for use during this year.
Thank you, Chancellor. May I have a motion, a second on item 1102?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Senior, second by trustee Milgram. Any discussion? No, not at this time. Oh, that's okay. Student trustee Lopez, do you have anything to add, and how do you vote?
Not this time, Board President. My vote is aye.
Thank you. Board members, please vote. The item passes unanimously, and we go to item 1301.
One of the more interesting aspects of being a public education agency in California is our fiscal year runs on the same as the states. And so we have to have spending authority for our board before we get to July, but we don't know what our budget actually is going to be. We have some strong guesses at it because the governor gives us a couple of updates. But here to present our tentative budget that will become final in September is Vice Chancellor Troy, and a bit about what's going on at the state, our district, and what we're asking or what we're anticipating the board will approve for our final budget.
Yes, thank you, Chancellor. Thank you, board members. A pleasure to be here tonight. Notice I wore my suit tonight. I get a chance to do that every few months before you just to see how much weight I've gained over the last few months. So thank you for that opportunity. As the Chancellor mentioned, this is just the tentative budget. We'll of course have the final budget, which will account for the final state budget, the closing out of the current fiscal year. We'll have much more detailed information for you at that time, but we do approve the tentative budget, so we have authority to spend money in July. And in my experience, people do like to get their paychecks. So before I get into the presentation in earnest, I do want to acknowledge the great work of people in the FBS team who've put this together. Our budget manager, Ariela Bustamante, she's here tonight. If your questions are hard, she's here. And of course, our Associate Vice Chancellor, Nancy Lane, and many others have put a lot of work into this. Also want to acknowledge the great review and discussion we had throughout our shared governance process, the Budget Planning Development Council, DGC, Cabinet, and of course, the board subcommittee as well. So with that, we'll get into the presentation. We're going to start out a little bit with a bit of a budget primer because I think it's good for everyone to understand how we get our money, how it works. We get the bulk of our general purpose funds through the student-centered funding formula, which we call lovingly the SCIF. There are various elements to the SCIF. I know a lot of people focus on the FTS, and of course, that is the largest element. But there are also the basic allocation, which is fixed funding based on the number of colleges and centers we have. There's also the supplemental allocation, which where we earn revenue based on essentially proxies for our disadvantaged students, and the state uses AB 540, Pell, and Promise Grant students to determine that. And also there's a success allocation, which is based on completion, certificates, transfers, et cetera, various elements. So there's it's a multi-pronged approach to the funding formula. There are 3 tests that determine how much money we actually get in a fiscal year. The first of those is the straight calculation. We plug in all those numbers I mentioned in the last slide. And if that's the highest of the tests, that's the funding you receive for the year. A second test is what they call stability. So that's your prior year SCIF calculation with your current year COLA. So that's meant to smooth out declines for districts that have declining enrollment. So it gives you a little bit of a stair step down so you don't lose all the revenue right away. And of course, finally, there's the hold harmless, which as of this year, that's a minimum floor that is based on what you received in 24-25. That will go forward in an ongoing way. So it'll always be that 24-25 number flat going forward, no COLA, no adjustment, at least by current law. So hopefully right now, I think that hold harmless is in our rearview mirror. So happy that that's the case. So what does our funding look like for this year? We won't have a final number, as the chancellor mentioned, until after the year ends. But this is our best information at this point in time. I do want to highlight here at the top the different elements of how we get the funds. You can see the $226 million for FTS is certainly the biggest chunk, but we do receive significant funds as well from the supplemental allocation, the success allocation, and for those latter two, I thought it was be worth pointing out that there's no cap on those. There's caps on enrollment that we can claim, but there's no cap on the success or supplemental allocation. So if we can increase those funds, that's guaranteed support for the district. So at the bottom, I show those 3 tests, the SCIF calculation, the hold harmless, and the stability. And as you can see right now, we're estimating that we're going to be in the SCIF calculation at $338 million. The various funding sources for that, the state only apportions for us a relatively small percentage of that. We're funded not only through the state from this, but from local property taxes, from the enrollment fees we collect from students, and the education protection account, which is the Prop 55 money approved by voters a few years ago. So when the state determines that $338 million, say that we're owed, they're only appropriating about $86 million of that for us. The rest is an estimate. So if any of those funds come up short during the year, we could have a hole in our budget. We may not receive that whole 338 unless the state takes further action to fill in that hole. And as just an example, earlier this year when they had the P1 report, which is sort of the halftime report of where we are during the fiscal year, the state showed a significant statewide deficit of $275 million. Our share of that would have been $18.7 million. So a very significant potential hole in our budget. The good news is, as of May revised, the governor is proposing to fill that bucket. So we're not anticipating a deficit right now, but that's the kind of risk we live under. In terms of the apportionment cycle, we do report at various times a year our FTS and other metrics in the formula. I think the key point I want to recognize here, which is part of what the chancellor mentioned earlier, is that we won't actually know what our current year funding is until 8 months after the year ends. So not until February will they tell us for sure how much money we earned in 25-26. So when we budget with a lot of uncertainty, and that is life in the community college system. Here just to show that how we're creatures of the state budgeting process. We're very reliant on those final state budgets for our funding. So when we budget locally, we're following the state budget cycle. So in January, the governor is required to propose a state budget for the subsequent fiscal year. That's when we do our preliminary overview. We did that for the board, I think, in February this year. Right now, we're working off the governor's May revision. So for the May revision, the governor takes another look at all the revenues that have come into the state, makes adjustments to the proposal for that final 1 month push where the legislature has to approve a budget. And the June tentative budget that we present for the district is based on the May revision. And of course, we'll have a final budget soon enough. I know we're all waiting on pins and needles for that, for those final decisions from the state. And that will be reflected in the September budget when we bring that to you, the final budget. So what did the governor find in the May revision? Generally speaking, good news. The governor is looking at those stock market returns. They've been very strong for this year. And that has definitely increased the current year revenues, and the governor recognizes those. But there's a lot of concern that those revenues are not sustainable. You've heard about the AI bubble. Stock market valuations are historically high right now. So history has shown that those don't always last, and the governor budgets for the next year very conservatively. So there's not a lot of new resources appropriated for the upcoming year over what we saw in January. The total amount of revenues that have increased over the 3-year window, and that includes the current year, the prior year, the current year, and the upcoming budget year, is about $16.5 billion. So that's the increase over the January estimates, though, as I mentioned, most of that is attributable to the current year. So for Prop 98, the governor does, while there is some additional support for community colleges, and we'll get into those details down the road here, just note, I'll cut to the chase right now. There's very few new resources proposed for Prop 98 or for the community colleges. He puts most of the current year money into a rainy day reserve, and there's even a big chunk of it, about $3.9 billion, he doesn't appropriate at all, waiting to see how things turn out going forward. The big change for us is that he does propose an enhanced COLA of 4.31% for the SCIF. In January, that estimate was 2.41. The updated estimate is 2.87, but the governor chooses to enhance that for the SCIF, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go forward. I don't need to spend much time on this. This is just the Department of Finance document showing you the total state expenditures estimated. There's the total budget, and there's the state general fund budget. The first bar is the current year budget. The blue bar is January. The next bar is the May revision. As you can see, the blue to the next bar, not much change going forward. And that's showing the governor estimating the revenues very conservatively. Okay, so what does this all mean for Proposition 98? So I mentioned that the state revenues of the 3-year window were up over $16 billion. About $6.4 billion of that over the 3 years is supposed to go to Proposition 98. But the governor, of course, just chooses not to spend very much of that. Most of that goes to a rainy day fund for what he believes may be future years that may be worse than what we're seeing today. And again, doesn't even appropriate about $3.9 billion of it. So one thing I do want to point out here as we go forward is that I think, as the board knows, Prop 98 has a traditional split that K-12 is supposed to get 89% of those revenues. Community colleges get 11%. They call it the 11% split. It's a longstanding legal provision. There's growingly a mismatch in the programmatic differences between K-12 and community colleges that's making the split very problematic for us. And that's K-12 enrollment is shrinking every year. So they can't fill up the 89% bucket just by funding their enrollment. They have to come up with new initiatives, new proposals to fill their bucket. K-12, in fact, is getting a $5 billion block grant that we're not proposed to get this year. And so that is showing that the split is becoming problematic for us. We can't even get our enrollment funded, as Chancellor Smith mentioned earlier, and K-12 is getting new resources, new initiatives, et cetera. So that's a growing problem. Some of the proposals in the May revision for community colleges, just at a broad picture, we're getting about 635 million funds in new ongoing base adjustments. Most of that's in the COLA, which we'll talk about in a moment. Chancellor Smith mentioned the TK shift earlier, how the governor funds transitional kindergarten off the top and then calculates the 11% split after that. That costs us about $241 million in ongoing resources. So if we were to reverse that, we could fund additional enrollment for community colleges. We could provide additional support for the SEEP program, for strong workforce, et cetera. So we are advocating very strongly for that. I've mentioned the $3.9 billion in current year funds the governor's held back on. Our share of that is $430 million. So again, the governor could fund unfunded FTS with that, could give us additional support for deferred maintenance, et cetera. So we've been advocating for that very aggressively. And note, we're only working off the governor's proposal here. The Senate and the Assembly get their take too. There'll be a negotiation between those bodies and the governor for a final budget. So there's still a chance that we could get more resources when the budget is final. So here are some of the specific proposals at a statewide level for community colleges. They are very, very similar from what we saw in January. So from the one-time funds, we do see a pretty good amount for deferred maintenance. We see another student support block grant proposed. My back of the envelope estimate for the deferred maintenance is that we would get about $4 million out of that. And for the student support block grant, we would probably get about $3 million if it's approved this way. There's some support for the State Chancellor's Office Common Cloud Data Platform, which is about data integrity and reporting at the state level. There's some money to assist with credit for prior learning, which our district I know has been very aggressive in, so we're happy to see that. In terms of the ongoing funds, the big ticket item is the COLA. 4.31% COLA is worth about $438 million statewide. That's where most of the money goes. There's only very little money for new growth funding, about 0.5% in the budget year. There's also some in the current year, but ongoing, very little. And note that only some of the categorical programs receive a COLA at all, and they do at the statutory level, not the enhanced level, so only 2.87 for them. And Calbright gets the money too, and I'm not sure why. So planning factors for the district, what does this mean for us? A 4.31% COLA in the SCIF would be, we're calculating at this point, would be worth about $14.6 million for us. I should point out, though, that is not totally cost-free for us. The governor does put a new requirement in there alongside with that COLA, is that we'd have to provide 14 weeks of paid pregnancy leave for our employees. So I think we'd have to calculate what portion of that COLA that takes up as we plan our budget going forward. We'll see if that survives in the final budget. As I mentioned earlier, the only certain categoricals get a COLA at all. These are the programs that traditionally get a COLA. They're getting it at the statutory calculation, 2.87, not the enhanced amount. So I thought I'd point that out. And again, we're, I think, short on enrollment growth. The governor's proposing 1% in the current year to eat up some of the unfunded FTS out there. That would fund statewide about 55 million of the 180 million in unfunded FTS. So I think there's a lot of room for improvement there. Some other planning factors and a little history for perspective there. So I've mentioned the COLA a few times here for 26-27 of 4.31. if you look past the last few years, you've seen COLAs have definitely been up and down. We've had a very large one a few years back and more modest ones recently. If you have gray hair like I do, you may remember a time when we had 0% COLAs in a row. I think that was 2008 to 2013. So COLAs are not always as good as what we see here today. So we're appreciative of those numbers. We, of course, have to pay our CalPERS and CalSTRS contributions to prop up those funds. Good news in CalPERS is it goes down a little bit from 26.81 to 26.4. So some modest savings there. The STRS percentage has been 19.1 for several years now. There's been no change in that lately. Again, for history, if you were to go back about 15 years or so, we were paying roughly 8 to 10% in contributions. So those rates are way up. That's a big expense for us. How are we doing in the current year? And again, this isn't final. We're going to close out the budget this summer. After the end of the fiscal year, we'll have better information for you at the final budget. But it looks like we're on pace for an operating surplus of about 1 million. So that's not that doesn't include our beginning balance. That's just revenue in, expenditure out for the year. So we're fiscally stable in our revenues and expenditures. That would lead to a balance of about $95 million. So an improvement of about $1 million over the beginning balance. And that comes out to about 24% of GFU expenditures. So I think we've done a good job with cost controls, with position vacancy savings, and we've had a little bit of luck in terms of the fair market investments that we've put at the Treasury. So this slide gets to what the Chancellor talked about in his comments earlier this evening. It shows you, where we've been and where we are now a little bit. We go back to 2021-22 here. You can see at the bottom left there that our ending balances were only at 12%. And while that doesn't look very good to my eyes right now, it's probably overstating how healthy the district's finances were at the time. We had 34,000 actual FTS. We were being funded as if we had over 37,000. We were under watch by the ACCJC. We had hiring freezes, early retirement incentives, et cetera. The district was not in the best fiscal shape, I would say. But through a lot of hard work from the colleges by increasing our FTS through good fiscal management, I think we've come a long way. Since then, we've not only managed to increase our revenue, increase our FTS to over 39,000 in the current year, and at the same time brought those balances up while we're not having hold harmless protection and all that. So having these reserves on hand is really helpful to our fiscal stability. It helps with those issues I mentioned earlier, such as if we have funding deficits, the uncertainty of the state and the federal government. So fair to say, I think we're in a better place today, and I would not want to go back to those earlier days. So here's a major element of our planning. It's our FTS targets for the budget year. If you look on the bottom right, you see our final target. We sum up all the colleges here with all their terms. I'm not going to quiz you on all these numbers, but on the bottom right, you see we're about 40,115. That's about a 2.6% increase over the current year. So we've worked collaboratively with the colleges on coming up with those figures. We feel that we can hit these targets, and of course, Cabinet reviewed and approved these numbers as well. So that's part of our planning going forward. This shows our projection for the SCIF for 26-27. Again, I know a lot of numbers here. If you look at the bottom right, that's our bottom line is that we think we're going to have about 352.6 million. This is what we're budgeting right now. It's a fairly conservative number for us since we want to be conservative before we have a final budget. So that would be budgeting in what we call stability. So I'm looking at the current year number, applying the COLA to that. I think that's about the lowest we're going to end up next year. So that's how we're budgeting right now. On the left side there too, if you look at the rate per FTS, kind of the left middle there, I know those numbers are probably hard for you to see. But I did want to share that, we talk about FTS often in chunks, 40,000, et cetera, but not all FTS is funded the same. Our credit FTS is funded at about 5,600 per unit. And again, that's based on a 3-year average. So that can be a difficult juggling act as we project going forward. Some of those other items are actually funded at a richer level and not on a 3-year average. So the special admits, which are primarily CCAP students, other high school students, are funded at a high level, 7,900, and also the CDCP, which is all provided by our continuing education. Those are funded at 7,900 as well. So those are great FTS and to support our base. And I know we talk a lot about credit FTS, but those other areas of FTS help us quite a bit as well. So here I break down the FTS and the revenue we're projected to generate by each college going into next year. And I'll note, take these numbers, they're approximate. It doesn't account very well for the 3-year average by college. That's hard to do. And also some of these may be unfunded depending on the outcome of the state. But I think it gives you a little bit of perspective of what each of the FTS each college provides and how the different levels of FTS fund them. So we start with city, their FTS and their revenue. We're also accounting the basic allocation too in this. You can see they're just about 54 million. Continuing ed is about a little bit over 81 million when you count the center funding that they apply to. So again, that high level of funding for the CDCP really helps the CE revenue. That benefits the district quite a bit. Mesa's our largest college. They're bringing in a little bit over 85 million. And again, this is just FTS, not the other parts of the formula. And then there's Miramar as well, a little over 60 million. So just a little bit of a snapshot about how those targets would turn out for next year. Yes, and it counts other high school students as well, but by and large, it's the CCAP students doing it. Next slide. So now we're getting to the actual tentative budget after all that preamble. I guess I could have skipped to this page and would have been shorter, but so here we're showing you the unrestricted revenues that we're projecting at this point in time. We show you the current year. In the middle there, we show you the tentative budget, and on the far right is the year-over-year change. So again, this is just the unrestricted revenue. The bulk of our funds, of course, come from the SCIF, which we've gone over. So relative to the current year estimate, we're up about 14.9 million in just the SCIF. If we combine it with the other sources of GFU, lottery and things like that, the total is about 16.7 million. So fairly modest increases year over year and primarily attributable to the SCIF. We do multi-year projections as well. And I'm the first to tell you that there's a lot of error bars that go into any projections, particularly with revenue. We're obviously very dependent on the state. So, I like to say these numbers are almost certainly precisely wrong, but hopefully they're approximately right. So this page, we look at the expenditures. The next page is the revenues. I think I can sum up my comments on this page, and we can skip the next one for brevity. But we do fairly vanilla projections for our revenues and expenditures here. We look at the Department of Finance's estimated COLAs, which of course will change as we get closer to those years, but it's the best number we have, so we work with those. And we try to work that through our funding formulas to make sure that when we compare those revenues to those expenditures, we're not seeing major gaps. And if you look at the ending fund balances in sort of the bottom third there, we're in the 24 to 23% range going forward. So we go down a little bit each year. That's primarily just a mathematical piece. If your revenues and expenditures are the same this year, you take your ending balance is roughly the same. You measure that against your expenditures, the percentage goes down, even though we're fairly stable going forward. So again, this is without policy adjustments, et cetera. This shows that I think we're in a fairly stable place, but we do have to be very wary of the state process, budget process. I'll skip that page. So we've been talking up to this point almost exclusively about the general fund unrestricted. So I did want to mention the general fund restricted as well. That's part of our total budget. You can see the bottom line there is about 173.9 million. That's what we're estimating. That's about 9 million less than what we received in the current year. And there's a couple of things going on that explains that. Primarily, we're spending down those COVID block grant funds, those HERF funds that we got during the pandemic. Those were one-time funds, and those are going away as we spend them out, not being replaced by the state or the federal government. And the other thing, of course, is that we're not really seeing much in the way of COLAs for the other existing programs. So there's no way to kind of catch up in the ongoing revenue there. And that can be an issue, particularly for positions that are funded with restricted funds. They're not getting the COLAs the way the SCIF is. There can be a mismatch there over time. So that's part of the reason why we advocate so much for the SEEP program, strong workforce, et cetera. Those are important too. I did want to give a little shout out to Measure HH. It's obviously a major part of our total budget. I think as the board knows, we approved the voters approved a $3.5 billion bond in 2024. Early in 2025, we issued $850 million as part of our first issuance. We're down to about $660 million of that left. We're approximating in the next as of the next year. One point I wanted to bring out is that we hear a lot of talk about how much of the cost is going to administrative overhead, et cetera. I know Vice Chancellor Peterson has brought forward some information to share with Cabinet that shows that only about 7% of the total bond is going toward administration, about 126 million out of the 3.5. If you look at other districts with their general obligations bond, that is not a high percentage. I think that's a very reasonable number. And so credit to Dr. Peterson and his team for his approach of hiring our own staff to work on these projects rather than bringing in a lot of consulting agencies. Often the cost for that is 2 to 1. So just wanted to acknowledge that. And here just shows what we're estimating is left to expend out of the first issuance, about 639 million, and some breakdown per college in the district there. Okay, so we've talked about the GFU, we've talked about restricted, and so now here we're going to put it all together. So current year, as you might remember last year, went up to 2.1 billion. I got to tell you that we doubled our budget from the prior year. That was kind of exciting. But that was primarily because of the $850 million issuance. Now we're in the mode of spending some of that down. So you see we're going from 2.1 million in the current year to 1.9. Again, our GFU is going up there. Should not be a concern. We're just spending down the bond issuance. Likely at the end of next year or beginning of 2028, we'll have the second issuance and we'll see those numbers prop up again. So I just wanted to share that perspective with you. So what are some other planning considerations for us going forward? Again, we're required to maintain an ending balance of 16.7%. That's our board policy. That's the Chancellor's Office minimum guidance. So we cannot dip below that. We do indeed want to proceed with caution due to the state and budget volatility and be able to utilize those reserves to protect against economic and political uncertainty. Just make again a plug for those reserves. We know the state doesn't guarantee us that the funding we think we're going to have is going to show up. If they underestimate the local property taxes and they're having a difficult year, we may not get those funds. They may. When I was the Vice Chancellor of Fiscal at the State Chancellor's Office, I had the distinct displeasure of telling our colleges that we were being cut in the middle of the year due to state recession. So they planned a budget, thought they had some funds, and I had to tell them they were losing anywhere from 7 to 11% in the year. So cash is king. Having reserves on hand to smooth those problems out is very, very important. We need to make optimum use of the restricted funds we have. I think particularly lottery is an area where we could look at some ways of funding student-facing software with that. I think those are some discussions we'll have going forward. And in terms of enrollment growth, we do know that those high school graduating classes are shrinking. They're not growing. I've mentioned that K-12 enrollment is going down. That obviously affects our one of our major demographics that come to us. But we have opportunity to make up those gaps through dual enrollment, through adult learners, and by being attentive to our guided pathways. So a lot of work needs to be done on that. We have opportunities to enhance our fiscal stability outside of state resources, such as through donations. And I know Chancellor Smith has an initiative to greatly increase the endowment in our district foundation. So if we can accomplish that, that's a way of providing needed support to our students. And of course, a strategic focus on all the skip factors, not just the FTS, but the supplemental allocation, the success allocations as well. Those count. They don't get deficited, they don't get capped. So bringing in revenue there can be very helpful. And finally, I'll sum up with what's next. I think you know what's next, but I'll tell you. We need a final state budget. We need to be able to close out this current fiscal year, that we would know what our beginning balance is. So the state, the Senate and the Assembly will come to their agreement. They'll have a negotiation with the governor. And once there's a final budget, we'll get updated information from the Chancellor's office about what our district allocations are. And we can put that together for you in the final budget, which you'll see in September. So with that, I've talked at you a lot. It's now your turn. If you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer them.
Thank you, Dan. Any questions? Yeah, Trustee Magana.
There's a lot of numbers.
Yeah, again, there'll be no quiz. So
You said that we can grow by enrolling more students in the special programs. And I wanted to know if you had the numbers on there, how much we did grow in terms of dollar amounts from last year, from the prior year to this current year?
Oh, yeah. So for the current year, we're at about 39,200. And I think we were a little under 39,000 the year before. I don't know the exact number offhand. I don't know.
Okay, so just a little.
38.7. All right. So we went up about 500 FTS from a 38.7 to 39.2.
What are the special populations that you're referring to? Dual enrollment?
Do you mean dual enrollment? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think we did increase in dual enrollment. So, part of that is that requires, support for the unified school district as well. They have to be supportive of those efforts too. That requires a lot of work with their counseling teams. So a lot of linkages required to make that a successful effort.
500 is quite a lot.
Yeah, that's good. And we're hoping for even more next year.
Congrats.
Thank you. Great work by the colleges, not just for last year, but for the last several years. So.
Good question. Anyone else? No. Okay. Well, thank you, Vice Chancellor Troy, and also thank you to the Budget Board Subcommittee for all the work that you've done. I've never been in that subcommittee. I'm not saying, just making an observation. But I hope that we hear the news that everybody's waiting for.
We want good news.
By tomorrow?
They legally have to 72 hours before they can do a floor vote, kind of like our meeting. So if we don't hear tomorrow, something really interesting is happening, and stay tuned.
I've seen when they do legislation, they have, the session is supposed to end at midnight. They actually literally will turn the clock back. So you never know what tricks they can play.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for, to your team as well, that they were able to throw that number immediately.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive. Anything else, Chancellor, or should we go ahead and?
I recommend board's approval, and thank you to everybody who was involved in working on this and bringing it to this point, including trustees Magana and Milgram for serving on that committee. You've never had to be on.
All right, before we have it, we kind of have a discussion, but may I have a motion and a second on this item?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Magana, second by trustee Milgram. Any more discussion, questions? No, I should have done that before. Before we vote, student trustee Lopez, do you have anything to add and how do you vote?
No, Madam President, my vote is aye.
Thank you. Board members, please vote. Okay, the item passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 1305.
So you may recall in March, Miramar College shared that it had been approved to join the Puente program after many years and a lot of hard work. President Lundberg, I believe, is somewhere in Portugal right now, unable to attend this meeting on a well-deserved vacation. So I'd like to welcome Vice President Maria Battisti and Dean Nisa Julian to talk a bit about what we're going to do with the funding that comes with that program.
Yes, thank you, Chancellor Smith, and good evening, Board President Arroyo, trustees. We are here on behalf of President Lundberg to share the exciting news for this opportunity of Miramar College potentially joining the Puente Familia. The Puente program not only supports our mission, vision, and core values, but it will also allow the opportunity to provide additional resources to students and build comunidad on our campus. And here to share more information with you is Dean Nisa Julian. She has all the information. And so she will also be leading the efforts if approved. So once again, I'd like to thank you for your time, consideration, and support.
Good evening. For over 45 years, the Puente Project has helped students transfer to four-year universities, earn degrees, and return as leaders within their communities. We're proud to round out representation within the San Diego region and join the Puente community. Bringing Puente to Miramar has been a genuine campus effort and a shared vision. Our faculty, staff, and students strongly advocated for the program because we recognize its power to transform student lives, improve student outcomes and success across generations, create a sense of belonging through its familia model, integrating instruction, counseling, and mentorship through a culturally responsive lens. Wanted to extend our sincere gratitude to the IDEA Committee and our Puente work group, who had their thoughtful research and planning and their commitment to exploring the program feasibility and long-term impact as they were essential in helping us move forward. They grounded this work in what it means for our students, most importantly, as well as our community and future generations. This effort also reflects the strength within our shared governance process. With College Council's approval and the support of our executive leadership, we move forward, and we are deeply appreciative that the Puente organization is considering and welcoming Miramar into this respected program. As President Lundberg has previously shared with our campus, joining Puente aligns directly with our commitment to advancing equitable outcomes for our students. Dr. Carmen Carrasquillo and Martin Gonzalez will lead Puente as coordinators on our campus. This July, they plan to attend the Puente Summer Institute, where they will engage in training that supports the program's interdisciplinary approach. I'm proud to share that we are already building momentum as our first cohort of Puentistas will launch this fall. We had over 170 interested students when we launched our CRM. And we are going through our list of students and have just distributed our first set of permission numbers to students. Looking ahead, we are especially excited about how Puente will connect with existing efforts at Miramar through the LEAD Office, La Casita Resource Center, our HSI STEM Éxito program, the Coalition Club, and in creating a strong integrated network of support for our students. Ultimately, Puente is more than a program. It's about building pathways, strengthening community, and preparing students to not only succeed academically, but to return as leaders who uplift others. We're truly proud to bring Puente to Miramar and look forward to the lasting impact it will have for our students and community. Thank you to our district leadership, trustees, Chancellor Smith, for this opportunity and your consideration.
Thank you. Before we have a discussion, may I have a motion and a second on this item?
So moved. I second.
Moved by trustee Senior, second by trustee Jameson. Any discussion?
I have a question. So on this first cohort, you said you had over 170 around. How many can you accept?
We are capped at 35. Our cohort is 2 paired courses of English C1000 and PERG 120, and the cap for English is 35.
So do you plan, can you grow, or is that it for each year?
We intend to grow. Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I've worked with Puente years and years ago. I used to do trainings for the Puente folks, and I wish we had a Puente-like program for every single student, because I think that, you know, that combination of the English part, the counseling, the mentorship really helps our students, especially those who are still struggling a little bit with language. And I think there's people from other ethnicities that have the same issues, and I wish we had something like that for everybody.
Well, thank you and congratulations. We're very excited that Miramar gets its Puente program. Before we vote, Student Trustee Lopez, do you have anything to add and how do you vote?
Not this time, Board President. My vote is aye.
Okay, please, board members, vote. And the item passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We look forward to hearing about it. And now we go to item 1404.
Item 14.04 is the establishment of a procurement contract specialist position within the Finance and Business Services division of the district office. Several months ago, we brought forward a contract to hire a consultant to do the work that is being done for this area while we were waiting for the outcome or resolution of SPA's unionization process and AFT's contesting of certain positions within SPA that are better suited to belong in the AFT classified professionals. The procurement contract specialist classification was created after SPA filed to form a union. It was not part of the ALJ's review of the case, decision, and PERB's ultimate decision on which positions belong where. There was a lower level position, a contract specialist that doesn't involve the same level of technical expertise around procurement involved with this one that ultimately went to AFT classified professionals. But PERB will not weigh in on this unless one or more party brings it forward to them. As was explained at a couple different points earlier this evening, the cost of contracting out for these services exceeds employing people. And I said at several points at the start of the bond program that we were going to hire a lot more people than we did in Prop S&N. One, for the cost savings that comes with it, but equally important, having people that have an affiliation with the district as employees and not just a business relationship through a contract, and the quality of work and sense of belonging they would have to the mission of our bond program. So we're bringing this forward for the board to create so we can start the hiring process and convert this from a contract to an employee, recognizing that we may ultimately need to have this settled by PERB on where this position ultimately lands. But as we brought it forward to the board several years ago as a SPA position, I would recommend we continue to honor that placement until we're told otherwise and approve moving forward with this. And just a brief note, 10% of this position will be funded off our GFU, 90% on the bond, and that is to address the fact that in the regular course of business, they may do some non-bond work, and we don't want to be out of compliance and have the bond paying for routine administrative work. With that, I recommend the board's approval.
1404 only.
1404 only. Yes.
All right. Before we have a discussion, may I have a motion and a second on this item?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Senior.
A second.
Second by trustee Jameson. Is there any discussion on this item? Trustee Magaña.
Is this the item that Monica?
It is not, which is why I did not have them
okay.
together.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing none. Student trustee Lopez, do you have anything to add and how do you vote?
Not at this time, Board President. My vote is aye.
Thank you. Board members, please vote. Okay, the item passes unanimously. Now, item 1405.
Item 1405 has a similar intent, but given the comments from Management Association President Romero, I wanted to address this separately. And so again, these are services that are currently being provided under contracts with consultants that we want to move to district employees, including executive construction managers and assistant district architects. The decision on whether or not a position within our internal classification structure of manager, supervisor, exempt professional administrator, classified professional, confidential, executive manager, academic, classified, all are governed by multiple layers. And so the definition of an exempt professional comes out of the FLSA, the Fair Labor Standards Act, which says which jobs you have to pay overtime to based on the hours they work versus positions that have a scope of responsibility and a salary with no fixed hours necessarily. So you put in as much time as necessary to do the job, like my position, our college presidents, all of our managers, most of our supervisors. The distinction between manager and supervisor is not really addressed in federal legislation or in state legislation. And in many smaller districts, you have administrators all lumped together, and you don't have this distinction necessarily outside of job titles that'll say supervisor or manager. And so there are some standards by which you can assess some of this within state and federal labor law around the scope of responsibility, the independence with which they work, the technical complexity involved, the impact of successful or unsuccessful job performance. So somebody does not do their job well, how severe of an impact would that have on the district, on our legal compliance, et cetera. The executive construction managers, I don't think were the ones that were in question there, but in the event that they were, the individuals in these roles will be working with the construction contractors to implement the program, do direct oversight of their compliance with contracts, with the scope of work that they're expected to perform, communication between them, design entities, internal stakeholders, a very high level of coordination, a high level of technical expertise, and giving explicit direction to employees of the district who report to them and to consultants and contractors working with us. The assistant district architect, which I think might have been the one that was really at question, has a similar scope in that they'll work with both employees who directly report to them in a supervisory capacity and give direction to and monitor compliance of the work of consultants and contractors working with the district. Doing that under the broad leadership of our associate vice chancellor and district architect, but without direct daily oversight and following up to see, did you do your job correctly today? Did you do all of the elements of your job today? Expected to operate with a high level of independence and manage the portfolio of projects assigned to them. So looking at the federal standards, the state standards, and similarities with scope of responsibility of level of independence within positions in our supervisory unit versus our management unit, our classification department within people and culture, our employee relations staff, and our vice chancellor reviewing all of that, applied their professional judgment to say, we believe that this is a management level position, not a supervisory level position, which is how it comes forward to the board in this way. And as I reviewed it, and this is one of the areas, of course, where my background, brings a lot of experience and expertise in this, I agree with them. And so I absolutely respect the questions and the request for the board not to consider this item. There are consequences to delays. Certainly welcome the opportunity to further engage with the Management Association on it, but I would encourage the board to approve this item and we can go forward with that further engagement.
Okay. Thank you. Before we have a discussion, may I have a motion and a second on this item?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Milgram, second by trustee Magana. Any more questions, comments, discussion? Okay. Seeing none, trustee Lopez, do you have anything to add and how do you vote?
Not this time, Board President. My vote is aye.
Thank you. Board members, please vote. The item passes unanimously. I have 1409, but I don't have it here.
Is it 1409 or I think it's 11?
Okay.
Or was
14.
it 9 because we removed?
It is 09, it was 11.
It was
last
11 when we had
meeting.
the disciplinary items.
Yes.
Okay. So 1409 is correct.
1409.
This is approval of contracts for employment for executive management and management positions as required by state law. These ensure transparency in executive and management pay at executive levels. I think everybody is probably well aware of what happened in Bell, California, and people paying themselves $750,000 to not do anything. So as a result, we have a high level of appropriate scrutiny and transparency. And so there are certain disclosures that need to be read. And just to remind everyone, this applies to our associate vice chancellors, general counsel, vice presidents, presidents, and vice chancellors.
Okay. The board is now going to review and discuss the recommendation to renew the employment contracts of several district administrators in accordance with section 70902B4 of the California Education Code and Government Code section 54953. Each of the administrators whose contract has been recommended for renewal is listed individually in item 1409 of the published agenda, including the name, title, monthly salary amount, and placement on the appropriate salary schedule, and the specific term of each contract. If the recommendation is approved, the term of each contract will be extended by 1 year so that each contract will end on June 30, 2029. The salary under each contract is in accordance with existing job classifications and salary schedules, without modification. A copy of each contract is also attached to the agenda and available online. Fringe benefits include management leave and health, dental, and vision benefits. For the following job classifications only, the contracts also provide for an annual physical examination, executive management, which includes college president and vice chancellor positions on the executive management salary schedule. I can go to the vote. May I have a motion and a second on this item?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Senior,
Second.
second by trustee Milgram. Any comments, discussion, questions? Seeing none. Student trustee Lopez, do you have anything to add and how do you vote?
Not this time, Board President. My vote is aye.
Thank you. Please vote, board members. The item passes unanimously. And now we go to section 15, Chancellor.
So we have several emergency action items for updates to the board. I'd recommend we take items 1508, 09, 10, 11, and 12 in a single action, and then we'll separately address item 1513. 1508 is an update on the baseball netting at Mesa College. The netting installation has been completed. Final inspection has occurred. We're awaiting the final invoices to terminate this action. The total cost estimate is $520,278. Item 1509 is the hot water tank leak at the Mesa College Math and Science Building. The tank is beyond repair. We need to do a full replacement. Without a tank, there's a complete loss of hot water to the building, including science labs. The estimated cost of replacement is $98,000. Item 1510 is a sink overflow in the Math and Science Building at Mesa College back on May 18th. The water intrusion affected multiple instructional spaces, materials, elevator operations, ceilings, cabinets, electrical system, and some IT equipment, i.e. computers. The invoices today total $220,000. The anticipated total cost is $750,000 with an estimated completion by the end of September. 1511 was a water leak due to a hot water valve failure at the V building at City College on May 21st. There's a potential for ceiling mold, electrical hazards, and so we're doing the remediation. The invoices to date are $12,575. The anticipated total cost is $27,000 with an expected completion at the end of this month. Item 1512 was the water intrusion or leak here at the district office. On our way down from closed session, you all saw the status of that project with the drywall having been removed between the third and fourth floors. The invoices to date total almost $57,000. The anticipated total cost is $125,000 with an ETA for completion on July 31st. I recommend taking items 1508 through 1512 in a single motion for approval.
Thank you, Chancellor. May I have a motion and a second on these items?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Magana,
Second.
second by trustee Senior. Any questions? No.
I hope we don't have any more.
I know.
Vice Chancellor Peterson has informed me we are purchasing a large number of detectors that will go on water pipes and infrastructure so that we find out immediately before they destroy walls, carpet, computers, and everything else. So.
Good. Trustee Lopez, do you have anything to add and how do you vote?
Not this time, Board President, my vote is aye.
Thank you. The board members, please vote. I believe the items pass unanimously. Item 1513.
Ask the board to consider item 1513 separately because this is an emergency action that happened back in late January, but was not properly brought to the board for a notice within the 14 days required. This happened at Miramar College at the C building. And so I think somebody made a comment about we haven't had a water leak at Miramar yet. Well, we did, yes. That started in late January near the C building, and the process to declare the emergency was initiated but not started. The assistant director of facilities that initiated that process was very close to his retirement, and we didn't have the redundancies in place to ensure that that got completed prior to the contract or prior to the board meeting and reported forward. So the contract was awarded. The leak was repaired in mid-February at a total cost of $24,428. We worked with general counsel on the appropriate remedy, which is to bring this to the board now with the notice that I just gave, the recognition that appropriate process did not happen. I spoke with Vice Chancellor Peterson about how we'll ensure that this does not happen again. Though I will note there was a separate emergency at Miramar that happened around the same time that was misunderstood to be part of the other emergency that was happening at Miramar. So at our next board meeting, I'll have a similar update on that emergency action. So we had two of them that we did not catch in real time, but we're meeting that process. It's really important to me that when we ask the board for delegated authority to bypass public contracting in emergency, that we're doing this with 100% legal compliance. Things happen, we learn from them, we improve, and we move forward. With that, I recommend board's approval of this emergency action and its completion.
Thank you, Chancellor. May I have a motion and a second on this item? Moved by trustee Jameson. Second by trustee Senior. Any discussion on this item? Thank you, Chancellor, for bringing this to our attention and I cannot say it. Fixing decision. Thank you, honey. Yes. I'm tired. Trustee Lopez, do you have anything to add and how do you vote?
Not this time, Board President, my vote is aye.
Thank you. Will the board members please vote? Okay, the item passes unanimously. Seeing no further business on the agenda, and if there are no objections, this meeting is now adjourned. Have a good night.
I object.